AAA Gaming brewed itself a fresh pot of failure and drank every drop. They failed because nobody wanted them. Period. Crimson Desert from Pearl Abyss sold 6 million copies in 83 days and made $179 million in 6 weeks. The gap isn't talent, it's respect. Fire the consultants. Stop hiring people who hate games to design them. AAA Gaming brewed itself a fresh pot of failure. That's good. And drank every drop. Saints Row reboot burned 100 million to sell 1.7 million copies. Saints Row dev is now closed. Warner Brothers $8 loss on Suicide Squad. Rocksteady imploded and is now working on another Batman game. Monolith never made its Wonder Woman game, but closed because it just could not hit it. And unfortunately, we're not getting another awesome Middle-earth game ever again from them. Dragon Age Veilguard missed projections by 50% and almost killed BioWare. Every one of these disasters has the same root cause. Meanwhile, Pearl Abyss sold 6 million in 83 days, and it's not the gamers. So, welcome gamers, geeks, and glorious snoops to Digital Coffee Gaming Brew. I'm your digital barista, Brett Deister, and that was a fresh pot of reality, just a little bit bitter to sip, because we've got Obsidian getting sued, Sony chasing AI ghosts, Epic admitting their launcher sucks, Valve pushing controllers into 2027, StarCraft 2 getting its largest update in a decade, and Battlefield doing something weird. And Unreal Engine 6 trying to alienate its own developers. Let's get on with this show. First up, Obsidian Entertainment, the studio you grew up loving, or at least the one you used to respect. The Outer Worlds 2 team just got hit with a California wage and labor lawsuit from a plaintiff named Turner, who accused the studio of a systematic pattern of wage and hour violation for profit. That's not a typo. It's allegedly baked right into the business model, like burnt grounds at the bottom of the pot. Now, I always say look at this from a perspective of it's a he said, she said argument type of a thing, even though it sucks and Obsidian does look like it doesn't look good for them. But the timing cannot be more brutal for them. Xbox put out a video giving Obsidian a huge shout out for having an absolutely massive 2025. So Microsoft's toasting them publicly while workers say they got squeezed dry for that success. If even Obsidian is caught up in this, it tells you what AAA prestige actually costs. And it's not just money. Meanwhile, Sony has completely lost the plot. They deleted the PC from their annual strategy report so they could gush about AI instead. Because nothing says we know our audience like erasing your most profitable platform for the conversation. They filed a patent back in September 2024 for an AI-generated ghost player, approved in 2025. And let's be all honest, they should have never just yeeted the PC market. I know that they're worried about Valve actually taking over them with the Steam machines, but since the Steam machines don't look like it's going to be cost effective, I really don't think they should have anything to worry about. I think they should have kept to that and kept to creating this single player games for PC, because they actually did really well on PC. So it's a little weird that they just cut off their most successful platform just to stick it to Valve for some odd reason. Just say things to watch as you play, learn your habits, and literally beats the game for you. They call it complete mode, complete removal of any reason to boot it up again. And what's the point of playing a game if you have AI playing it? I mean, seriously, it's like, play it, AI. I don't have time to play this game. Just give me the cliff notes. I don't know who would actually do that. But this is the same company that gave us Bloodborne, now wants an algorithm to finish your boss fights. That's Decaf Gaming. All the branding, none of the experience. Epic finally said something honest. Steve Allison, head of Epic Game Store, admitted the launcher sucks. Let's call it what it is. They've been rebuilding it since November 2025, promising major speed improvements this summer and adding avatars, chat, and even forum style or type features. Being not as terrible as before isn't a selling point, it's the minimum. Steam had this stuff a decade ago while Epic was busy buying exclusives and serving up a launcher that ran like it was brewed up on a dial-up modem. And let's be honest, I got rid of it too because I was like, I don't need this. This is just wasting my resources. And it was never that good. And I got the free games every once in a while, but I never played them because I just went to Steam anyways. It's a better platform. The reason why Steam is number one is not because that they beat out the competition through like strong marketing. They beat out the competition because they're focused on the customer first. Now Epic wants credit for catching up. You don't get a loyalty stamp for fixing what you broke. Valve is hoping the opposite problem. Everyone wants their new Steam controller and Valve can't build them fast enough. Reserve one today and you're waiting until 2027, which isn't a delay so much as a year-long backlog served cold. And let's be honest with you, the Steam controller looks actually pretty good. And I think the main draw, I know it's expensive, it's $100, but the main draw of this controller is that you can actually fix the controller. You don't have to be like, I broke my controller, let me buy a new controller. No, it's, I broke my controller, let me get the part to fix the controller that I already have. It really is a cost-cutting thing if you look at it that way. Now, I get it that it's not the cheapest controller we've seen. Let's be honest. The cheap ones, they do die out pretty quickly and they kind of sort of work sometimes. This one is... Steam controller is really innovative in a lot of other areas, but the biggest innovation is that you can actually fix your controller. Yeah, it's like fixing your coffee pot. If you could actually do that now, I don't think you could still do that, but it's the same avenue on that. All right, Liz Su from AMD collaborated on an early 2026 launch, but some buyers won't see it until next year. Valve blames memory and storage shortages. Sure, they also operate on Valve time, so data miners finding Triton references in SteamOS, probably Steam Controller 2 with deck-style gyro, is promising, but don't let it keep you warm. Blizzard surprised me this week. StarCraft 2 got a patch 5.0.16 on the PTR, and fans are calling it the biggest update in 10 years, overhauling the economy, dropping workers, rebalancing ghosts. Someone at Blizzard remembered the RTS audience exists and apparently made a whole pot. I'll take it. And yeah, I mean, it's been a decade since anything has actually happened. I was hoping for maybe a StarCraft 3, but I'll probably be holding my breath or waiting for that mythical coffee that will actually not cost that much. So that's where we're at on this one. Meanwhile, Battlefield 6 Season 3 wraps up with a wet work event. And Eurogamers have basically called it a little sus. That's accurate, very accurate. This franchise has chased its own tail since 2042 and now serving up events with names that write their own punchlines. And yeah, wet work, you could go about that way, but I understand it more from a Splinter Cell stealth style gameplay as wet work or like CIA type of stuff. It's just things that you don't want to really talk about, but you do talk about, or you don't actually talk about it because you don't talk about the stuff you do at the CIA. So, moving on. And then there's Epic again, this time with Unreal Engine 6. At the State of Unreal 2026, they announced they're retiring Blueprints, the visual scripting system thousands of indie devs rely on. Gone in UE 6, along with Claude and Gemini LLMs shoved into the editors because apparently game development needed more AI slop in the filter. And there's a bunch of different people on different types of perspectives on this one. I'm in the middle. I think some of AI can be good and can be very helpful, but a lot of it is not. I've used it in video editing. Some of it is good. Some of it is not good. Some of it actually wastes more time than it actually gives you back, and you actually are spending way more time fixing the AI's own mistakes. But I digress. So developers are furious. Reddit's Unreal Engine sub is in open revolt. Aftermath.site called the direction crappy Roblox core slurry for Fortnite. Epic keeps pouring their metaverse ambitions down the drain while telling actual developers to get bent. Unity pulled the same move in 2023 and watched devs flee to Godot. Epic ordered the same drink anyways. And that's the real thing. You told developers to use blueprints because this was kind of the future of it. This was a way for them not to code anything, and they got really good at it. And then you're like, nah, you'll just use AI for this stuff. And maybe it will work, maybe it won't. We're not really quite sure because, again, AI is a Pandora's box of if it will do good or if it will not do good. And it's always about, I prompted it this way. It didn't really quite work out. I got to prompt it again. I got to keep on refining it. And that's really the basis of AI, is that you have to keep on refining this thing until it actually does well. All right, moving on to why AAA devs and publishers just don't understand their own audience. But Marketing 101, you don't fire your customers. But all this is just a warm-up act. So let's start about the actual espresso shot of this episode. Every business owner on earth knows you don't fire your core customers to chase imaginary new ones. Acquiring new customers costs 5 to 25 times more than keeping an existing customer. That's Marketing 101. Not controversial, not political, math. The AAA industry looked at its core audience, the men who built gaming into a $200 billion industry, decided they were embarrassing. They wanted a new crowd, a modern audience. Folks who don't buy games, don't play games, but sure, do love filling complaints about them on Twitter or X. Whichever one you feel like you want to use the certain day. I get it. Sometimes you just want to have it as Twitter. I get it. So instead of making games for gamers, they brewed lectures with cutscenes and served them cold. Then wonder why nobody ordered a second cup. They didn't do this alone. They hired consultants to walk into boardrooms and convince executives that fun was problematic, that gamers were toxic, and that profit lived somewhere else on the other side of ideology obedience. It was never about expanding the audience. It was about swapping it out for a crowd that doesn't exist and never spends money, specifically in gaming. Saints Row is patient zero. Embracer Group of Volition took a franchise built on over-the-top gangster mayhem and filtered it down to a sanitized lecture about college grads with bad tattoos. 1.7 million copies against a $100 million budget. Lowest in franchise history, Embracer had to overhaul its entire policy and admit out loud that each project had to earn its right to exist. X approval, it turns out, doesn't pay the tab. And the sad part about this is that Volition is no more. And they were a great developer previously. They made Free Space, which was an amazing space sim game back in the days. Free Space and Free Space 2, amazing. If you actually have the time to play it, play it. They made the original Saints Row 2, 3, and 4, I think. But those were all good. Those were all a lot more satire about gangsters and everything, and they were fun. And then they did this, not so fun. But Forspoken was Square Enix's turn. The president called the sales lackluster and the reception challenging, which is corporate for we poured it down the sink. Limited production got disbanded and absorbed back into the parent company. A game that cost millions couldn't compete with Dead Space and Hi-Fi Rush because it wasn't built to compete, it was built to lecture. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, might be the priciest Bad Batch in history. Warner Bros. Took a $200 million revenue hit after Bloomberg reported 7 years of tumultuous development with a vision that kept changing. Rocksteady went from Arkham Trilogy games people still play today to a live service looter shooter nobody ordered. $200 million, 7 years, they still couldn't figure out that players don't want to grind battle passes as Harley Quinn. I can attest to that. I played the game, not great, not good at all. What they did to Batman was tragic. It was just not a good game. It was okay. And then they had the other Batman game from another developer that was very subpar and was not even good. But man, those Arkham games, especially the Arkham City, the last one, I don't remember the last game, but the last game was way more open world with a Batmobile. Amazing game. Still play it. We'll still play it every once in a while because it's good. That's what makes a good game. That you play it, you're like, this is good. I want to play it every once in a while. Not all the time, but every once in a while. Now we have Dragon Age The Veilguard, or Failguard, whichever one you prefer, is the latest addition to the graveyard. 1.5 million copies, 50% below EA's projections, 9 years of development because they pivoted from live service multiplayer back to single player halfway through. The director left. BioWare is now a one-project studio running on fumes with Mass Effect 5, which veterans say is a long time away. A legendary RPG studio grounds at the bottom of a cold pot. And it is truly tragic, as one of the best developers through the 90s made Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights, Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, Dragon Age, Mass Effect. Great games, but they all eventually went down. Anthem was a truly bad downfall, so it's sad. Now we're on to Overwatch 2. Killed the beloved 6v6 format, pushed predatory microtransaction surveys, and chased a modern audience while its core competitive community bled out. And it was overshadowed by Marvel Rivals at a time. Marvel Rivals came out, completely blew Overwatch 2 out of the water, and now Overwatch 2 is now Overwatch, and they're actually doing pretty good now, but they had to learn their lesson. South of Midnight, Avowed, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Marathon. The pattern is everywhere: more consultants, more focus groups, and representation, less gameplay anyone actually wants in their cup. The results is what you see around you. Mass layoffs, studio closures, stock prices in freefall. The modern audience was a mirage, a fantasy brewed by folks who never bought games and sold to executives who don't play them. These games didn't fail because gamers are toxic. They failed because nobody wanted them. Period. Now comes the embarrassing part. While Western AAA devs and publishers was burning its house down, Asian and AA developers served exactly what the market ordered. Make games for gamers, and gamers will buy them. Crimson Desert from Pearl Abyss sold 6 million copies in 83 days and made $179 million in 6 weeks, which 80% of that coming from North America and Europe. Pearl Abyss profits surged over 30,000%. Biggest Korean single-player success ever. No lectures, no consultants, just a gorgeous open-world action RPG brewed strong and served straight. And they keep on updating it pretty quick. It's not the same game it was at launch. We also have Baldur's Gate 3, which was an outstanding game. Little woke, but it gave you a choice, which is always good. We also had Schedule 1. We also have No Man's Sky, which keeps on updating. It's got like 40-something updates. You can see where I'm going here. Marvel Rivals from NetEase hit 40 million players and drove 2.9 billion in quarterly revenue. Number 1 on Steam, fan service skins, solid mechanics, competitive gameplay, no consultants in the recipe. Palworld from Pocket Pair made $130 million in 4 days from a studio about 50 people. 32 million players in 1 year. The CEO told Bloomberg the profits were so massive the company can't handle them. Fun gameplay loops, not political statements. From Software keeps winning by respecting hardcore action RPG fans. Elden Ring cleared 25 million copies with zero design compromises and zero pandering. The lesson fits on a coffee sleeve. They asked what gamers want and build it. Western AAA asked what gamers should want and build garbage. The gap isn't talent, it's respect. So what's the fix? It ain't complicated. It's not served in a focus group. Fire the consultants. Stop hiring people who hate games to design them. Stop treating your core audience like an embarrassment on the menu. Crimson Desert, Palworld, Marvel Rivals. The audience is right there. Wall it out, asking for a decent cup. You don't need AI to play games for people. You need competent developers with a spine to make what customers actually want. Layoffs aren't a tragedy. They are the market pouring bad product down the drain. Either AAA learns from the Asian and the indies, or it becomes a cautionary tale. That's where we're at. Here's what I want to know. Which AAA franchise do you think could still be saved? Which one is beyond redemption? Drop in the comments and I'll pin the best answer. Subscribe for more takes nobody will ever give you, or actually want to give you, for the sake of being PC. Have a great day.